Welcome back to Train Signal. This is Elias Kinaser, and you're watching Introduction to the Microsoft Private Cloud. So, that last lesson was a little brutal. So, I'm going to make this one short. This will be the last lesson that's all presentation. But this was necessary because we had to lay the groundwork. I had to be able to explain cloud, public, private, and hybrid as much as possible in order to kind of get your mind outside of all of the buzz that you've been hearing about cloud and focus you a little bit on keywords. That's why I was repetitive, I was insistent, I was persistent, because I wanted you to wrap your head around what we're trying to do, clear your head from all of the other things that you've been hearing so that we can focus. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about the private cloud from a Microsoft perspective. We're going to take a look at how the Microsoft Private Cloud and the VMware Software-Defined Data Center differ a little bit. And then we are going to wrap it up, and then the next lesson we'll start doing a lot of cool things. So what are the Virtual Machine Manager 2012 highlights? Now, while we're talking about the Microsoft Private Cloud, it's essential that you understand that VMM is at the heart of the Microsoft Private Cloud. It is not the only thing in the Microsoft Private Cloud, but it's at the heart. It's kind of that maestro that's going to get everything to talk together, that's going to glue and weave everything together. So with 2012, you'll be able to pool and allocate data center resources. You'll have multi-hypervisor support and management capabilities, flexible role-based security delegation, self-service infrastructure, provision standardized applications, simplify application management, cloud enable existing applications. What does that mean? Cloud enable existing applications. How's that possible? Well, by taking a traditional three-tier application, for example, consisting of a web server, file server, database server. Typically, you would deploy these three independently, and then you would have to figure out what to install on each of them and figure out how to get them all to communicate. And typically, that task, you would repeat it over and over and over again every time you have a new application. Well, if you're cloud enabling an existing application, that you're cloud enabling the concept of a three-tier application that might include a web server, a SQL server, and a file server, and you're able to automate and pre-provision that so that you're deploying it in a quicker manner, so that every time that you have to repeat this task, you're not going through these steps every time. So think about cloud enabling an existing application as what you would do from a sysprep for the operating system, but you're doing it on a larger scale, on a more complex scale for applications that come together to form a service. A Citrix XenApp, for instance, which requires a database, an application server, and maybe a file server. That's one example. Exchange, etc. Optimize infrastructure based on application needs. What does that mean? You want to build an infrastructure where the application can tell the infrastructure, hey, I am not meeting my SLAs. I need more resources. Help me. And this could be as simple as deploying a load balancer that is smart enough to know that when it drops below a certain level of SLAs, it's going to automatically provision virtual machines from a compute perspective, because that's what it's missing in order to optimize the infrastructure for the application's needs. Or maybe it's more storage, more faster tier of storage, so it moves the application from the tier that it's on to a faster tier in order to optimize the infrastructure but also meet the SLA requirements. Highly available private cloud infrastructure. Every time you're building these services, and you'll take a look as we progress through the course how we're taking high availability by design into account. So it's not, high availability doesn't become something that we do later. It becomes something that we're building in the infrastructure, in the DNA of the services that we're delivering, so that when you're putting these services, they're automatically becoming highly available. And then we want to build these private clouds using VMM 2012 and others using industry standard support. System Center 2012 capabilities. Now, while the title is System Center 2012 capabilities, these are not all capabilities of System Center 2012. These are the cloud-focused capabilities of System Center that I want to go through with you. And you'll notice that we have four major sections here, four major solution set areas that form a cloud. The first thing that we want to deal with is infrastructure enhancements, and that deals with high availability HA Virtual Machine Manager Server. You're looking at the ability to do upgrades. You're looking at custom properties. You're looking at PowerShell capabilities and enhancements. All of these give infrastructure enhancements in the System Center 2012, private cloud capabilities. You have fabric management. This one is huge. You now have the support for Hyper-V bare metal deployments and provisioning, so you can support Hyper-V simply by PXE booting it and delivering the image to a bare metal install, for instance. Update Manager has been significantly enhanced. What we're still using was SUS and other things, but you have the capabilities of, again, tying into that type of solution. You have multi-hypervisor support, so you have vSphere support, you have XenServer support, in addition to obviously Hyper-V. You have network management that's also been significantly enhanced. You have storage management that has also been significantly enhanced with APIs and other things to make the fabric a lot more dynamic, a lot more manageable. Power management, the ability to power off or on hosts as need be in order to conserve power if you can do that. Your cluster management, there's a lot of things that go into the fabric that we're going to talk about significantly. And then cloud management. Cloud management's also been enhanced from an application owner usage perspective. How do we track that? How do we charge that? You have capacity capability management, capacity and capability management here. When am I going to run out of space? What can I do to avoid that? Delegation and quota management is also very important. On the far right, you have service management, and we're going to talk a lot about services. You're gonna find that I'm going to abuse this word during the entire course. So we're going to look at service templates, what do those means. We're going to look at application deployment. How are we going to do application deployment? How is AppV going to tie into all of this? There's a lot of cool things that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about custom command execution. What does that mean? Where is that useful? Why should I be doing that? And we're going to talk about image-based servicing as well, which you guys are also familiar with. Moving on, what I wanted to do here is to show you what the private cloud components would look like if I was to compare them between what the industry is expecting, what Microsoft is offering, and what VMware is offering. And this slide is not meant to be essentially, hey, Microsoft's better than VMware or VMware is better than Microsoft. Not at all. But because a lot of my students, a lot of my customers are looking at essentially Microsoft and VMware, I thought this would be a nice slide to kind of show you what each of them offers. So if you look at what the industry is categorizing, you'll find that we have, again, 4 major categories that make up a private cloud. You have your application management, you have your service delivery and automation, you have infrastructure management, and then you have your virtualization platform. And each of these have subcategories. So for application management, the industry is expecting self-service portal, self-service capabilities. It doesn't have to be a portal. What is Microsoft offering? So Microsoft is offering a couple of different things in this area. You can do self-service either through the app controller, web, Silverlight application that we'll talk about, or you can also tie it into through Service Manager, your help desk applications, to allow you to do that. From a VMware perspective, they have it through vCloud Director and the acquisition of Dynamic Ops that significantly enhances self-service capabilities. Here you have application performance and management. With VMware or with Microsoft, you have it through Operations Manager. VMware will give it to you through the vFabric application performance management as well. From a hybrid cloud perspective, you can have VMM connect to an external public cloud or another cloud, that's maybe based somewhere else or on different platform. VMM will provide that capability. When you're looking at it from a VMware perspective, it's coming through vCloud Director and vCloud Connector, especially for public hybrid clouds. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these. You can feel free to pause the video here and take a look at them, but I wanted to map that out so that you knew what is the industry expecting, what is Microsoft providing, and what is VMware also providing. Now, what I'll tell you here, and just a quick update here, I put Windows Server Hyper-V. This could be 2008 R2, it could be 2012. I didn't want to specify a version depending on what you're using. And vSphere, depending on when you're watching this, could be 5, 5.1, maybe 6 soon, who knows. So I just want to give you this good overview of what the different companies are offering and how many products are going to be necessary to kind of come up with this elaborate private cloud. Now, some of you will see, for instance, down here that I have Configuration Manager, and VMware also has its version of Configuration Manager. In this series of lessons, we're not going to focus a lot on configuration management. As a matter of fact, we're rarely going to talk about it. But configuration management can also come into play, if you're trying to deploy bare metal Hyper-V or a lot of the different things that could connect into your private cloud. What I want you to understand or get the sense for is that the IT technology, the solution is shrinking. Everything has to be able to connect and talk to each other. It's no longer these islands of things that we can build. So every piece of software, every decision that we make within our data center is going to have an effect, is going to have ripple effects somewhere else, and they need to be able to communicate and connect together. So what does a System Center Virtual Machine Manager 2012 architecture looks like? And the reason I put this up here is because, again, the focus point of this course is going to be Virtual Machine Manager and its friends. We're going to talk about the Service Manager, we're going to talk about Operations Manager, Orchestrator, App Control. We're going to talk about all of these technologies that live within the realm of Virtual Machine Manager 2012. So this gives you a good overview, a good understanding of what the architecture looks like. For instance, you're able to take a look at where System Center is in correlation to what the virtual network is going to look like, the connectors to the virtual network here, maybe connectors to the virtual storage as we start virtualizing the storage as well through some of the APIs and some of the technology that Microsoft has come up with that we're going to talk about a little later. You have your partner solutions as well, your partner plugins. Maybe it's a storage array with different APIs. So this is kind of what it looks like, and you have down here at its heart the Server 2012 that is providing the hypervisor for those virtual machines, for those services, for those templates that we are going to be building. So in this course, you're going to see me talk a lot more about services, a lot less about virtual machines. What I'm going to do is I want to take you through this evolution. I want your thought process to evolve from thinking about a virtual machine to thinking about a service. And again, a service is a collection of virtual machines that come together for the same purpose. Again, you can think of this as a Citrix XenApp server that requires an application server, that requires a database server, and in some cases it might require a file server. So those three collectively form the Citrix service. Exchange is the same thing. Think about it from maybe a web application, again, that requires a web, maybe IIS, maybe SQL, and maybe some kind of middleware. So these come together as a service. You're managing them as a single entity. You're deploying them as a single entity, and you're able to pre-configure them and do a lot of cool things. So what did we cover in this lesson? We started off by talking about the VMM highlights, VMM 2012 highlights, what it is offering you, what can you expect from some of the things that we're going to talk about. I showed you then what are the different components in the System Center 2012 family as it relates to private cloud. We did a quick comparison of what the industry is expecting, what VMware is offering from a software-defined data center, which is their version of a private cloud, what Microsoft is offering through System Center and Virtual Machine Manager 2012 in the form of a private cloud. And then I'm showing you this VMM 2012 architecture to kind of get you started, get you in that mindset of what's to come and what we're going to be building. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope this lesson was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.